Welcome back to the Form is Temporary podcast, and it is the Gameweek 3 preview in this one. Really excited to get our thoughts on the Gameweek 2 action and also to look ahead to the last game week before the first international break of the season. And to do that, first of all, I've got a drafted in co-host, Jack, Kanji and Chris couldn't make this, so thoughts with them at the moment, but we've got Druv, who's come in. He came on last season. Great appearance earlier in the season as well. So, Druv, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks again for helping out. And yeah, this man needs no introduction. He's one of the biggest content creators in the game, without a shadow of a doubt, and a really, really lovely guy in the FPL community. His videos, just always go viral at the touch of a button. And he keeps making the game refreshing with his content. So it's a pleasure to get on for Game Week 3 preview. Dan, FPL Mate, how are you, Dan?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good. Good to be back. I can't remember the last time I was on this show. I don't think I came on last season, but maybe the year before.
Yeah, I seem to remember it was with Andy, FPL Mode, on I think it was a double game week the season before last. So
yeah, a little while ago, but good to be back and chatting about FPL as always.
Exactly. Yeah, it's great to have you back and really appreciate you coming on tonight. And yeah, it'll be a great episode. We'll be looking back at our Game Week 2 scores and how they did. Of course, we had our differentials last week, as well as our differential captain, and see how ourselves got on, as well as our guest Fran last week. And then we'll look ahead to Game Week 3's fixtures. Potential moves on the horizon. Got the mini league and how that got on last game week ahead of the Game Week 3 matchups. And then we'll end on the quiz. And both Dan and Druv are Arsenal fans. So we might have an Arsenal themed quiz at the end just to sort of end the pod. So that'll be good fun. But without further ado, let's jump into it and look back, first of all, at Game Week 2. So what we tend to do on this pod now, Dan, is we go in sort of reverse order of lowest to highest scores. So I'm afraid to say that does mean, Druv, that you are up first, my friend, with the lowest score of the week, I'm afraid. So we'll just sort of flash that up just to sort of show a sign of things to come. For those on audio, it was a very good week for a certain someone, but we'll get to that. But first of all, Druv, 47 points for you. Just for the audio, we'll go through how you got on in Game Week 2. So you had Roofs in goal, Sunderland goalkeeper, 1 pointer, Nico Williams, Kukurea, Ait Nouri, and Pedro Porro is the back four. Semenyo, Gakpo, Saka in the midfield, Pirot, Mayenda, and Watkins, and then a bench of Verbruggen, Palmer, who of course auto subbed out your team, as well as Jorginho Ruta, who was ruled out with injury, an illness, whatever. I think it was injury. And then, of course, Goodmanson on your bench for a -1. So, all in all, Druv, what are your thoughts on that game week? Just below average, 51 this week with that 47 score. But yeah, what's your thoughts on your team this week?
I mean, honestly, with a few, I've got a lot of problems now, with regards to, because Aitnouri is now out for 3 weeks, Saka is out for 4 weeks, and Palmer and Ruter are still, doubts. Although Palmer is being, assessed and being like that, he might play against Fulham, but I don't think that Maresca is going to risk him. So technically, I feel like I might have to make a -4, maybe a -8, but I'm okay with that because I would rather, take like a risk and use like a few hits before activating the wildcard, because I'm seeing so many people, pile on, suddenly getting Gyökeres and Eze and all that in right now, which I wouldn't be against it, but I would, use my wildcard for it also, and maybe Haaland as well. So lots of thoughts, lots of confusions, but at the moment, I'm probably looking to maybe get like an Arsenal back before that Liverpool game, because that game is always really high scoring. Dan also probably knows that how much, those games yield so many points over the years. So I think that might be my move right now, but I'm really confused.
Yeah, well, we'll hopefully help to solve that confusion in this episode for you, Druv. I mean, Saka captain there, Dan, was very unlucky for those that did go there against Leeds because he scored the goal first half, and it might well have been to go on and get a monster haul with those other goals scored by Arsenal in that 5-0 win. So do you think Saka, obviously he's a sort of out for 4 weeks now, so do you think he's a immediate sell, or would you sort of be happy with him even if it meant sort of burning a few points on the bench?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty easy sell, to be honest. Really unlucky on the captaincy there. I felt quite bad for not just Saka captainers, but also Palmer captainers, because had Palmer played, that could have been a different story as well. So, yeah, some poor fortune, I think, in the captaincy department this week for a lot of people. But yeah, Saka, I think at this point has got to be a sell. If he's going to be out for 3-4 weeks, I think even if he's back for sort of game week 4, 5-ish, then I think that's Man City or Newcastle is one of those games that the next 2 after that where he might be back for anyway. So even if he does come back a little sooner than expected, it's straight into some pretty rubbish fixtures. So for that reason, I think he is going to be a sell.
Yeah, I mean, the Arsenal fixture run does sort of start really around game week 7, doesn't it? So I guess it's a little bit later, a little bit more time to wait until you sort of get the right time to move towards Arsenal attackers anyway. But yeah, if you were on a Gyökeres last week, then fair play, because he delivered in his first home game in the Premier League. The defense there, which is sort of interesting, a lot of fullbacks you've gone for there, Drav. I mean, Ryan Aït-Nouri was very unlucky because he went off after about 23 minutes of that Tottenham game. But I see you also had Pedro Porro there. It's quite interesting because a lot of people benched Pedro Porro. I made the conscious decision to start him, but in the end, it didn't make a difference because a lot of people got Porro's points anyway because of the Cole Palmer late withdrawal. So, regards to Aït-Nouri, do you think if we get sort of any positive news about him, you'd be willing to keep him, or is he one way you're just a little bit sort of unsure and you're willing to move him on?
I mean, if you get positive news about him over the next couple of weeks or so, I think you keep him. I don't think I'll be selling him right now because he's had a price rise, so I can probably ride that wave out unless it gets to the point that he's going to drop soon to 5.9 or something. So he stays until further information for me. But yeah, I mean, City at the moment, they're really confusing because that game against Spurs, they looked a little out of sorts, I mean, for the whole of the game, because they couldn't create much. Marmoush looked good in the first half, but second half, I don't know what happened. Trafford, undoubtedly, I think they're now having questions, with the Donnarumma rumors as well. So it's not helping matters at the back as well. So if you've got City at the moment, it's like a hold. You don't buy, you don't sell.
Yeah, exactly. It feels that way. I mean, a lot of people after game 1 down were very sort of hot on the Rangers train, especially if you missed out on him in your game week 1 squad. I didn't have him game week 1, and had a lot of people saying, he's just a no-brainer. Get him in ahead of Tottenham. And I'm glad I didn't, in a way, because what we've seen in a lot of game week 2 scores was players that maybe didn't return in game week 1 then returning in game week 2. And so it just shows that, not all of these assets that score in game week 1 are sort of invincible for the season. It's, it spreads across different players. So do you think, Man City, you'd be sort of a bit more calm on after that Tottenham defeat, or do you still think after how well they played against Wolves, you'd still be interested in the likes of Haaland and Reinders?
Well, I think Wolves generally have been pretty poor in the second game as well, which I think does maybe add a bit more context to the game week 1 result from Man City. So, yeah, I'm not super hot on Man City players. I am planning a free hit in game week 6 where Man City play at home against Burnley. And I think that's probably the 1 week you probably would want a load of Man City players in. So my strategy, I think, is generally to just avoid those Man City players because they do have so many poor fixtures. We know there's going to be a lot of rotation risk there, and just kind of try and bring them in for game week 6 and 6 alone and kind of not deal with the long-term headaches of the players that they have. So I'm not super hot on Man City right now, but game week 13, I believe their fixtures turn just amazing. So by that point, when we've got a better idea of who's actually playing the games, not just who's playing well, and who the best picks are, I think we'll have a very good idea by that point. So that will probably be the time I start to invest in Man City.
Yeah, I mean, some of the sort of positives of your game week there, Druv. Gakpo as a differential kept on delivering in that Newcastle game, despite a lot of people captaining Mo Salah. He walked away with just one return in that. So Gakpo, a couple of assists. He started the season really well, and a nice sort of 10-pointer for you there. And Semenyo as well with a 6-pointer. He did well for those that had him in game week 1 and carries on the good form. So yeah, it's interesting. Your front three is a little bit different, Druv. I mean, Pirot and Mayenda, a few people did talk about it at the start of the season, but yeah, fair play for that, because it's not been a great week for sort of many strikers, to be fair. It's not been a great start to the season, unless you're, João Pedro or Haaland, in one of the 2 weeks. But it's not been sort of many strikers that have been consistent, has there, across this start to the season, Druv?
Yeah, I mean, with the strikers, I basically played my bench boost last in the first game week, man. I got around an 80 odd. So if I look at that logic, that paid off, and Pero could have had his goal as well, before the penalty happened against Everton. So I kind of felt like I missed out there, but I was like, you know what, I'll hold it, because Leeds look. I mean, are they going to stick with Daniel Farke as well at the moment? We really don't know. So there's also talks of maybe some turnover in that department. But Goodmanson at 4, and I can switch Pero to like a Nekitiki or a Gyökeres if I want to with the money in the bank. So that works for me. And so at the moment, I'll probably be keeping him next week, because apparently Newcastle have a lot of injuries, as well, going into that game week, and I feel like both of these could weirdly haul. I this might sound stupid, but I think these two could be good picks this weekend, because Jolinton is not playing, Tonali is not playing, Gordon suspended, and Shah is out as well. So that's basically most of Newcastle's, the spine of the team gone in an instant. And as for Semenyo, who I replaced him with, I brought him in for Words, who price dropped last night. So I got away with one, and the Salah bit you mentioned as well. So yeah, I mean, I kind of got away with a lot of, swings this week as well, because people had double City defense, double Forest defense as well. So yeah, I was kind of all right. So, but things have to.
Exactly. I mean, it's very early in the season, isn't it? So 47 points is, it's not the end of the world, absolutely. And there's still a long, long way to go. The next high score between the three of us was Dan. He scored 50 points in game week 2. So for the audio, Dan, could you just talk us through it? I mean, some interesting little players in here, the likes of Richards and Stev, but, sort of good returns for the Burnley players, and not so much for everyone else, it seems, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, pretty template team for me. Pretty analytics based, to be honest. But yes, Sanchez with 1 save point, not much else. Murillo, Richards, both blanked, conceded goals to one another in that 1-1 draw. But Estev with the 6-pointer, which was quite nice. Pedro Porro, 5 points. I think he's a really nice pick at the moment. Yeah. Dewsbury Hall looked good, creative, but a blank for him. Rogers, I may as well throw Watkins in here. My double Aston Villa attack really been a flop so far this season. Thankfully, actually, Bruno Fernandes, another missed penalty. Could have been very, very different had he scored that. We would have expected him to get maybe a 12-pointer had he scored that with his defensive contributions as well. But Captain Salah with his lucky assist in the 100 millionth minute, and João Pedro's 15-pointer really saving the day for me to bring me up to 50 points. So both far from a disaster from me. Not a good game week by any stretch of the imagination, but really nothing too damaging.
Yeah, I mean, that João Pedro Hall was absolutely lovely. I mean, as a former Watford player, I was very much enjoying that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sort of good players in this team, Dan. I think, you were unlucky with Dewsbury Hall. I mean, again, I have him, so I'm going to be favouring his sort of, selection. But I think, it was just, he got the assist, the first Njai goal. And he seems like he's, around the team, but whether or not he'll be involved enough from an FPL point of view, we'll have to see in the coming weeks, but he's certainly one we could look to move on if we fancy it. I mean, the problem is there's not too many sort of consistent players around that price point that will return for you every week, so you kind of just have to kind of accept these blanks sometimes, I guess. But Yeah, I mean Palmer was very unlucky, and a lot of people did have him captain. I mean Jack, who was going on about Chelsea in the pre-season, he went and captained Cole Palmer, but not just captained. He triple captained Cole Palmer. So when he was out of the team, he was absolutely gutted. But he had Salah as his vice, so he ended up getting 30 points from Salah, which is not ideal for the first triple captain of the season. But he also then brought in James Druv, which was a very unfortunate one. He brought him in for Frimpong after his injury, and then Reece James not starting in that West Ham game was a bit of a sucker punch for those that went for him. But yeah, no, it's a nice team. I mean, you got Dubravka there as well, Dan, which is a nice option if you need it. He got the clean sheet against Sunderland. Juve as well with an assist, even if it was maybe a little bit of a fortunate FPL assist. But those that started him, will take those. And then of course Mark Guiu, who just kind of got a few minutes off the bench in that game against Burnley. So yeah, all in all, just below average, but still very solid game week from you, Dan. And I think there's not too much. I mean, outside of maybe Dewsbury Hall and Bruno, we're talking about injuries with Druv's team. At least I suppose there's not too much to sort of have to force in terms of transfers, depending on sort of how we get any updates from Cole Palmer's situation. In terms of my team, I mean, Dan, you were gonna say something there?
Yeah, the only maybe change I would make into Game Week 3 is maybe removing Palmer. That's all I was going to say there, just because I'm not convinced he's going to start in Game Week 3, to be honest, either. So yeah, he might be a player that needs to be moved on.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Maresca's famously not that helpful when it comes to press conference sort of info, so we'll have to wait and see, because I think Palmer's one where if he is fit, they will want to risk him based off how important he is. But the thing is, with how good they were against West Ham, that do they just take that result with a pinch of salt and say, yes, they were great without Palmer, but was it just West Ham's defending? But Fulham, will be a much more stern test, so be interesting to see. But I got 59 points in game week 2. Pretty happy with that. 58 in game week 1, so 59 in game week 2. Each week we get hopefully going up and up, and hopefully by game week 38 we can be in the triple digits. But I mean, it's been an okay start. Pretty happy with Dubravka, who was my starting keeper. I started him over Matt Sells, which worked out. I was just thinking if there was any fixture that he would get a clean sheet, then it would surely be Sunderland, as good as they were against West Ham. So yeah, very happy with him. And then Dorgu was a bit of a frustration. I started him for this fixture because I really like the look of how well he plays against Arsenal, but he just didn't get involved, and it was unfortunately the wrong Man United defender that popped up with a goal. I mean, it was originally given, I think, as a Euro a goal, and then I saw some changes of Mooney's own goals at times. So in the end, I mean, Dorgu, no clean sheet, but it'll be interesting to see. Did you like the look of him ahead of game week 3 in particular against Burnley?
Look, against Burnley, I mean, United are actually a little, confusing as well at the moment, because they played very well against Arsenal.
Yeah.
I was watching that game and I was not comfortable for it. We won the game, but we were not very good. So I thought that, they might, start to gel together a little. But against Fulham, it was a bit of a reality check again, because, I mean, again, in that second half, they start games well, though. I mean, I've noticed that they're starting games well now. Konya had a few shots in the first 15-20 minutes, and Fernandes should have scored. I mean, I enjoyed everyone, being a little sad about him skying that penalty cheekily. But yeah, a reality check even against Burnley. I think just you start him obviously against Burnley, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's another stale watch again from their end, because Burnley will try to just sit back and just absorb pressure as they do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of game I expect it to be. I mean, Burnley will go there to probably hold out for a lot of the game, but with how well they played in their last Old Trafford game against Arsenal, I'm hoping that sort of translates for Dorgu. The rest of the defence, I mean, Porro with 5. I started him over Murillo, and then in the end, Palmer, not featuring meant Murillo's 1 point was subbed on. So I was kind of hoping with me benching Sells that Murillo would come up with a goal, but in the end, it was an unfortunate yellow card for him. Pedro Porro with 5 also booked, but at least got me that nice clean sheet, which, to be fair, I didn't really expect. I was hoping for an attacking return in that Tottenham game, so pretty happy with that. Now Chalobah is where I was very happy on that Friday night, watching that Chelsea game, and when the clean sheet went so early, Dan, for that really good goal from Paqueta, I was thinking, oh, here we go, this could be a long game for Chalobah. But yeah, when he pops up with that goal, I was absolutely running around the living room and loving it. So yeah, do you think he can sort of stay good value? I mean, he's $1 million cheaper than Cucurella and more points than him so far this season. So do you think that sort of is the thing that can be sustained for a few weeks at least?
Not sure. You never expect a goal every week from your centre backs, do you? You kind of take them whenever you can get them. But the clean sheets, I mean, why not? Why not? Chelsea have got still plenty of good fixtures to come. They seem like a pretty solid defence so far this season. The only goal they've conceded was a Lucas Paqueta wonder goal. So yeah, clean sheets have got to come surely. The only maybe concern there is maybe a little bit of rotation in the centre back area. I'm not sure if Chelsea have fully figured out who their centre backs are going to be for this season. But Chalobah certainly made a good claim to be one of the two in the centre of the Chelsea defence for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'd hope. I mean, in the first game, Achimpong played because I think Tosin was not ready in terms of fitness. So Tosin coming in for Achimpong kind of made sense, I think, in the West Ham game. But I would hope that Chalobah would be fairly secure in that back two centre back pairing. Murillo, yeah, 1 point was fine because I knew he was going to come on for me. And to be fair, a lot of people had sort of had Forest or Palace players in that game defensively anyway. So the fact it was 1-1 kind of didn't matter too much. Salah on the captaincy. I mean, this guy, I don't know how he does it. Every single week, we think he's having an absolutely generational stinker, but yet he comes away with the captaincy return pretty much every time. And this is why he's so good, because he stays on the pitch for, like Dan said, the 100th minute of the game, and he's just there. It's just sort of getting that assist. A big thanks to Dominic Szoboszlai for sort of allowing that to be an FPL assist. But yeah, it was an incredible moment for Rio Ngamoa, and 16 years old, the fourth highest, youngest sort of scorer in the Premier League, was incredible limbs. And Newcastle were very, very good on the night, despite having those 10 men. So yeah, feel for Newcastle that they didn't get anything from the game, because from an attacking point of view, even though they got that red card to Gordon Drubb, I mean, he's sort of going to be look like a big player for them. But it's a couple times now he's done that in the space of 5 months, getting sent off for them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, won't it, what sort of Newcastle's solution is when it comes to their forward line. I mean, Osula scored in that Liverpool game. So do you expect them to still do quite well against Leeds, or are you a bit concerned about Newcastle?
I mean, we've seen them play 2 games, and it's been kind of like the summer transfer window, in a nutshell, because with they have that Isaac shaped hole, and it's starting to really affect them, because they played well against Villa when I didn't expect them to. They probably should have won that game as well. But last night they tried everything. They're trying their best to stay competitive and create a lot of chances as well for themselves, But I think, that game last night, I think really sapped a lot of energy from them, in my opinion, because to come back from 2 goals down and a man down to level and then lose it at the end, I think that's a bit of a kicker, man. I mean, and I don't know how they pick themselves up this week. And, I mean, fair play if they manage to do it, but I'm expecting a draw at best, maybe a 1-1 or something. Yeah. Or maybe even a Leeds win, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, Wirtz was frustrating. He was someone I kind of picked out of fear more than anything Gameweek 1, because I knew that his ownership was around 35%. And I like the player, don't get me wrong, but it was obviously a big risk with him, whether or not he'd sort of start life quickly. But those fixtures for Liverpool do get good Gameweek 4 onwards, and you do think, is it worth a sell? It might well be, but yeah, he's not been too impressive so far, unfortunately. Semenyo did get me another return after Gameweek 1's heroics in my team. It was nice to see him pop up with another assist in that Bournemouth game. The Dewsbury Hall, as we've mentioned, frustrating. Ollie Watkins as well. I mean, Villa have just not been at it so far, but at least I had Joao Pedro alongside him with those lovely 15 points. And then on the bench, Sells, Palmer, Keanu Hoover, who, as well as Wolves signing another right wing back, he looked to have picked up a slight knock in that Bournemouth game. So not ideal when it comes to my bench depth, because I've also got Mark Guiu there, who's sort of, 1 pointers, it seems, at the moment. So yeah, pretty happy with the team though. Very, very pleased with the outcome of game week 2. It's just things to ponder going into game week 3 with 2 free transfers, which we'll get on to talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, interesting game weeks, guys. Thanks for those. We did also have the mini league, which we'll reflect on now. So quite a few intriguing results in the head-to-head. I mean, Jack, as I was saying, with his unlucky situation with the Chelsea players, didn't quite go to plan in his team, unfortunately. But in his head-to-head, I mean, he had, to be fair, up against Williams G, quite the mammoth task to beat him. 78 points from Williams City, 45 from Jack. So yeah, unfortunately, quite the big margin there. I was up against Mika Sharma with his team Doggo's Back Post, and I just about scraped a 59-52 win. So pleasing in the end that I just about did enough to get the job done. Also, Andrew, FPL Nightmare, so great guy, been on the channel last season, and he in his head-to-head was up against my dad, and unfortunately he captained Gordon this game week, so he lost 20-60 to my dad. So yeah, not the strongest, unfortunately, for Andrew, but yeah, there's a long way to go, and I'm sure he'll be back in the big points in no time. We're definitely intrigued to watch him on FPL Black Box this coming Friday. So yeah, do make sure you check him out, and also Chris, the current league holder. He keeps on winning. He's so consistent. 65-41 win up against Boucham Kadan. So some interesting results there, and we'll get on to the game week 3 fixtures in just a second. But before we do get onto that, we're going to look back at the differentials. So Dan, this will be the interesting bit where we see how you get on in the differentials this week, because we've had not so much success so far this season. In game week 2, we had a couple of rogue picks from myself. I had Harry Wilson alongside Anthony Gordon. So both of them not doing well in game week 2. So no points for me. Still 0% on the success rate. We also had some differentials from Kanji. He had Martin Ødegaard against Leeds, who of course went off injured. So the bad luck continues on that front. But he did pick Declan Rice. So 50% success rate so far for Kanji. And then Fran also had Evan Nilsson and Mateta, who unfortunately both blanked. So yeah, not too much success. So let's hopefully change that sort of record. Before we do get into those differentials, the fixtures are going to be as follows in game week 3. So we've got 11 o'clock deadline. We're back to the 11 o'clock Saturday deadline for the first time this season. Chelsea Fulham is a 12:30 game, followed by Man United Burnley, Spurs Bournemouth, Sunderland Brentford, Wolves Everton, and then the tea time kickoff is Leeds against Newcastle. And then Sunday's action, we've got Brighton Man City, Forest West Ham, Liverpool Arsenal, which will be an interesting one for our FPL sides, and then Aston Villa against Crystal Palace. So yeah, quite a few interesting fixtures to look at there. So we'll start with you, Drav, if that's okay. What differentials are you looking at? Because there's a few sort of potentially high stakes games, but maybe from an FPL point of view, quite hard to pick out some differentials. So what 2 players have you got at the moment under 10% owned?
I mean, this is going to be really unpopular in my opinion. Really unpopular. But Liverpool are up against Arsenal, and they're probably going to play Soboslai right back again, who, despite all his deficiencies, had a very good game. However, I've got a differential name called Gabriel Martinelli, who, let's be honest, he's not had the best of seasons, over the last couple of years or so. But in this game, this guy always turns up, especially at Anfield. That's the funny part about it. So I feel like that if there is a chance that he gets the good to and because who's going to be playing in behind him? Is it going to be Eze? Is it going to be Rice? Will Odegaard be fit? We've got so many options to like experiment with now in an attacking sense. So I think that's my one differential. If you really feel brave and want like an Arsenal attacker to play, because I feel like that's the game that he is going to excel in because of his defensive work rate. He might even get defcons as well, for anyone who wants to go there as well. So attacking returns and defcons, in an ideal world, you get like a 13, 15 pointer. So yeah, and he's 1.2 at the moment. So if you're on like a free hit or something, this week, go for him, man. Definitely.
It's really interesting shout. I mean, Dan, do you expect Martinelli to start? I mean, obviously a lot of options now in that attack, especially on the left-hand side. You've got the likes of Eze, I mean Trossard as well, who did sort of come on in that Leeds game. Do you expect Martinelli to start this one?
Yeah, I think this is possibly his last start for for a while maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't really expect much more than 65 minutes for him. I imagine that the likes of Eze and Trossard will probably get some minutes in there as well. So it's just about how much can he do against Liverpool in 65 minutes. And if you think that's going to be he's going to be dangerous there, then hey, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great sort of high stakes game, and it could well have goals in it. We saw in previous seasons that be the case. What's your second differential then, Drav?
My second differential at the moment is just I think I might go for I don't know why he is a differential at the moment anyway, but Ilmer India at the time of recording is 9.5%. He's playing goals. He's starting to get the freedom to like attack and experiment as well. And I expect Everton to win that game, because I think they played really well against Brighton and they look a lot more, exciting as a unit, before, unlike the years gone by, they got Dewsbury Hall, they got Grealish looked good, So I think if you're looking for something, a little stable on you and you want to like keep him for a few weeks, because you look at those fixtures, he might probably get something against Wolves. Aston Villa are not looking as solid as we thought they might be, with Konsa probably being suspended and Unai Emery looking a little out of sorts. You can bench him for Liverpool away if you want to, and then he's got West Ham and Crystal Palace. So I don't know. One to consider, honestly.
Yeah, really interesting one. I mean, Ismail Assar also scored in game week 2. So a few of the 6.5 midfielders, Dan, kind of popping up now. But do you fear that maybe that sort of Njai returns in game week 2 was maybe factored into the first game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, or do you think that Everton could still do well after they weren't great away from home last time against Leeds, but they have got a nice fixture in the way that Wolves have started?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves is just a good fixture right now. So even if they are away from home, and they are a team that typically don't travel particularly well, Everton, but I think Wolves fixture is just very nice right now. So yeah, no, I can definitely see Njai coming up with some more returns. Plus, as we all know, he is the penalty taking man and is capable of the odd DEFCON as well. So hey, why not? I like that one.
Absolutely, yeah, some solid picks there, Drav. Thank you for those. In terms of yours, Dan, for game week 2, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so obviously we're looking at under 10% owned players. I really like differentials. I really like differential hunting. So this is my bag. So I thought I'd take an extra step further. So I've got 2 players under 1% owned.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm feeling good about both of them as well. So let's start off with the slightly more boring one, I guess, and that is Harvey Barnes, who is at 0.6% selected currently. Obviously, with Gordon out, that nails on Barnes' minutes even more than perhaps they were already. He hasn't returned yet in the Premier League. However, Barnes, looking at his underlying data, is kind of second to Gordon. Gordon was putting up the best data for Newcastle so far this season, and Barnes is second there. Decent amount of creativity in the game against Liverpool, and I think he had a few opportunities to score and indeed assist against was Aston Villa in game week 1 as well. So yeah, it's a nice fixture up next against Leeds. He is proving that, without Gordon, he is going to be the second best data guy among those Newcastle attackers. And plays Wolves at home in Game Week 4 as well, Bournemouth in Game Week 5. Genuinely, this is a player I would consider picking up. Gordon's going to be out for 3 game weeks. He has 3 great fixtures in 3 game weeks. 6.5 million, super differential. I think this one kind of works.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, it's
boxes.
really interesting. It does, Dan, for sure. It's really interesting because in the past, when Newcastle's players, sort of first choice players, have been injured and Barnes has got the opportunity, it's like one of those things where you see sometimes players off the bench getting returns, and then when they start games on their own, it can sometimes not be the same. But Barnes definitely is, capable enough of doing well in these next 2 weeks. And yeah, there might be fixtures that could well suit him for sure. And yeah, as you say, under 1%, 0.6 is tasty for sure. And, even if we think that, when Gordon comes back, Barnes' minutes might be under risk, we've got, other good 6.5 midfielders to sort of move to if that needs to be done. So yeah, nice way to kick off. What's your second one?
The second one is Dango Ouattara, new signing for Brentford, who plays against Sunderland next in Game Week 3. Again, I think he is 0.6% owned. He was earlier when I checked. As long as he hasn't gone above 1%, I'm happy. But yeah, so he scored in his first start for Brentford last week. Yeah. And also somehow managed to get, I think, 15 defensive contributions in that game as well. So putting in the defensive work, scoring a goal, we know he has a bit of creativity about him. I think a few people might remember him from last season where he was playing for Bournemouth and doing really, really well. But then quickly became a bit part player again before he was really allowed to take off and found himself back on the bench. If he's going to be a part of Brentford's main plans going forward, then this could be a really nice bargain pick going forward. And obviously that Sunderland fixture is really nice as well. It's a shame some of the other fixtures aren't so great for him moving forward, but I really like him for a 1 week punt. If I was on a free hit, I think Dango would be in my team. In terms of transfers, I'm maybe not so keen, but really like him for Game Week 3.
Yeah, I mean, the appeal of that first goal for him to get himself off the mark, and up against Sunderland. I mean, Sunderland, in the first game week at Stadium of Light were very, very strong, but you would imagine with them conceding those 2 goals against Burnley, that sort of confidence might impact them. And Brentford will go into that game as favourites, despite maybe the sort of atmosphere that Sunderland can create. So yeah, I really do like that Dango pick. Thanks for those, Dan and Druv. My differentials are interesting in terms of what we've already discussed about. They're from teams we've already mentioned. So I'll start off with someone who got a couple of assists in Game Week 2, and it is Jack Grealish. So it's a battle of the Everton mids for me and Druv this game week. 5.1% owned, 6.5 million. There's a few good 6.5s, and I was just so impressed with Jack Grealish in terms of how quickly he adjusted in terms of his role there at Everton. I mean, first start for a long time. It's been a while since he's been playing regularly enough, and he just looked really on it. His creativity, the way he set up that goal, the first one for Iliman Ajayi. But yeah, the fact that he's not just got the one return, he's added to it, and I think it's the way he's gonna sort of go at players. I hope he gets given the same sort of freedom and license as he was given at Aston Villa, because I think Everton don't have too many of those kind of players where you take on a man and try and create something out of nothing. And I think with that Wolves fixture, Grealish, former Villa player as well, he's got a little bit of bite in that game potentially. So yeah, I really like the look of him. That's my first one. My second differential, though, it's the battle of the Everton midfielders, but it's also the battle of the Brentford midfielders, because I've gone with another Brentford player. This time, though, it's Mikael Damsgaard. I was really impressed by how he played against Aston Villa. Just so central to everything that Brentford did in that game. His creativity, he really has sort of settled into life at Brentford recently, and I've just been really impressed by him every single time I watch him. Now, this might be a risky one. He might be the sort of player that does get the assist, but he can be on a few set pieces also. And yeah, I just think his creativity is, potentially could get him a lot of routes to points, and maybe, might pick up the odd defensive contribution point also. So hopefully, yeah, he could be the man to get the points against Sunderland. So those are our differentials. We're now going to get on to our top differential captain of the week. Now, if you haven't heard this is our new segment for this season. So we ask our guests to give one differential captain, and that's if they're a defender, they're not 6 million. If they're a midfielder or forward, they're not 10 million or more, just to kind of go on that sort of non-premium vibe. So to start things off, Druv, what have you got for our differential captain this week?
Okay, I was torn between two players, to be honest, but I've got a feeling about that Brennan Johnson could actually do something this weekend against Bournemouth. I that he looks a little settled now at Spurs. It took him a while to actually, grab his chance at Spurs. With Son gone, and his minutes look a lot more secure now than we initially thought it might be. And yeah, I mean, Bournemouth do. I'm not sure who are they going to play at right back as well at the moment. Because they're still torn between Adam Smith or Araujo. So bit of a concern for them as well. So I think he could get a chance. And yeah, he got points in the first week against Burnley. He scored 2-2 now. So why not?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the form to show it. I think I had Brennan Johnson as my game week 1 differential captain, and he did well against Burnley. So yeah, absolutely like him as a shout. Bournemouth, it will be interesting to see because they kept a clean sheet in game week 2. They looked a lot more solid defensively, but maybe that was Wolves, struggling. They have to maybe take that in it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, they've looked solid compared to the first game against Liverpool. And then in terms of yours, Dan, for game week 2, what are you thinking about for a differential captain?
Yeah, I don't know if this counts or not, but I'm going to say Bruno Fernandes. And I know that sounds a bit cheeky because among the engaged player base, he's probably not going to be really much of a differential captain. But,
Yeah,
if you suggest
he is below 10 million. So
he is. So, but I think if you kind of ask the general FPL player base, you suggested to captain Bruno Fernandes after the first 2 performances for him, people are gonna you may as well suggest that we sacrifice their firstborn child to the sun god. It's such an offensive captain suggestion to so many people. I mean, I've made a few videos this week, and I said, I think Bruno Fernandes, you should definitely keep him for the Burnley game, and people were even insulted by the idea of keeping Bruno.
Yeah, I mean, people overreact, don't they, to a missed penalty? When a penalty is missed, it kind of hurts hard, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. So in many ways, I think he is a differential captain because I think there are so many people who will be staunchly against captaining him. But look, set pieces, penalties, defensive contributions, and actually getting into the box and involved in the play a little more than people may be giving him credit for. I know people are calling him a glorified defensive midfielder right now, but he's still involved in the attack. There just hasn't been a huge amount of attack for Man United so far into pretty tough games. Let's not beat around the bush. Arsenal, top defense in the league, I would say. Fulham, a grossly underrated defense as well. They barely concede chances at all. They were, I think, on expected goals against last season, they were something like 5th best in the Premier League. So really, really top defense, playing away from home. Against Burnley at home, it's going to be a totally different story, and I think we're going to see the best of Bruno again, as long as he's not sold to Saudi, as some people maybe suggested.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see, of course. Recording on Tuesday the 26th, so the transfer window shuts on the 1st of September. But staying on the Manchester United theme, for my differential captain, I've got for us Matheus Cunha, 8 million in the game. Of the first 2 matches, I was really impressed with him against Arsenal. Against Fulham, less so. I mean, he had his moments, but I think his, sort of potential, I've been probably still most impressed of him of any of the sort of Manchester United front 3 so far. And ahead of a game against Burnley, I don't think Burnley are going to keep a clean sheet. I'll be very surprised if they did. And if United did get a goal, I'd be, again, surprised if he wasn't involved, because he's just been very influential in these first couple of games, and he's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck, I think. So, if you want to take a punt on a free hit and a big punt on a captaincy, then I like Mateus as our last one. I did want to shout out Kanji, who had a couple of picks. His differential, he had Anthony Elanga, and he also went for a differential captain of Bruno Guimaraes. Going all full steam on the Newcastle train ahead of that Leeds fixture. So we'll see how that develops going into game week number 3. So talking of which, we'll now quickly talk of our transfer plans going into this game week. We've got a decent amount of time, to be fair, to ponder our decisions before that Saturday deadline. We'll start with you, Druv, if that's okay. What transfers are you considering, or are you considering even rolling for another week with our 5 free transfers, rule this season?
I'll probably have 1 free transfer to roll, so might as well use it with so many injuries in my team at the moment, because I think I'll be looking to play a 4-4-3, sorry, at the moment, with my injuries. So I need at least one of Rooter or Palmer to be fit and Saka to be replaced with someone. I actually might even go with Martinelli or Eze if I feel like it, because I want coverage for that Liverpool Arsenal game, because that game is going to produce a lot of goals. We just don't realize it yet, with all the transfer plans and all. Could probably go for like Bruno Fernandes as well if I want to, if the FOMO gets to me. But at the moment, I'm really a bit over the place, to be honest. So no set plans at the moment. I'll see how it goes.
It looks a little bit like Sheldon Cooper's fun with flags, I'm afraid, in your team at the moment, Drav. So there could well be, some of those flags that turn into 100% availability come Friday or Saturday.
I've got a white flag to wave at the moment, so yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are at that point already. I think it's it's easy to press the panic button after a couple of game weeks, but we have to try and stay patient and trust in the process for sure. If you were having this team, Dan, what would you say is the most sort of glaring issue to fix, or do you think there is sort of not much that needs to be done with this team?
I'm curious, Drov, did you bench boost in game week 1?
Yes.
And that went quite well, I presume?
Yeah, 28 points on the bench. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Controversial one. I would say if you've already used your bench boost, I would probably wildcard this team. Because four injuries, I think is, particularly if it does come out, Palmer is unavailable, Jorginho is unavailable, Ait-Nouri. I think a lot of people will be saving their wildcard in order to use their bench boost either before or after. But I think you're in a very strong position where you can actually afford to pull the trigger a little bit earlier than most people. I think there's maybe some other minor concerns. I wonder if Dominic Calvert-Lewin can maybe take some minutes off Perot. I don't think the Sunderland striker situation has fully been sort of sorted out yet. So I think I would be tempted to wildcard and just have some fun with it. But obviously Saka's the big issue, and if Ait-Nouri, Palmer, and Jorginho are suddenly looking very positive, then of course you're going to be absolutely fine to get through. But if not, I think it's worth thinking about. I think you're in a good situation.
I suppose the only thing is with that, Dan, I mean, it's just because it's just before an international break, and you could potentially wildcard in a few players that then by game week 4, just by bad luck, you don't have available for game week 4. So maybe delaying it by a week, would that be potentially okay, do you think?
Yeah.
I think honestly, I think the international break injury thing is massively overhyped. Like, people say it's going to happen, and we may get one obscure injury to a Sunderland left back that you were never going to pick in the first place. I think the international thing is overrated, but there's the transfer window closing, and I think we are going to get a lot of clarity from stuff around that, which is definitely a good reason to postpone the wild card for sure.
Yeah, I suppose that's a logical way to look at it. I think definitely one to consider, because I mean, a lot of the time in this sort of part of the season, we do have to sort of try and be reactive and look at at the changes in the transfer market, and ultimately that's why a lot of the time we're sort of making decisions quite late in regards to how close it is to the deadline. But yeah, I mean, when you look at that team, are you going to captain Palmer at the moment, or is it going to be someone else, Drav?
I think I might actually put it on, Gakpo or Watkins for vibes, I might just actually do it, you know. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I mean, I think probably it feels like, I mean, looking at this team now, I feel like maybe Acuna has to come, someone. Yeah, so many things to consider. Maybe a -4, -8 role. Yeah, I'm as confused as everyone on the timeline at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of information still to come in, so hopefully some of that confusion could be. But I think you still got a very solid spine of a team there, Drav. So yeah, definitely still, definitely options to make ahead of game week 3. Now, Dan, your team in terms of how it's looking, any sort of transfer considerations with this team? I mean, at the minute you've got Palmer in there, but are you considering taking him out ahead of game week 3?
Yeah, I think he's going to go. I'm really not convinced on his minutes, and I'm planning actually a free hit in game week 6. And I think game week 6 for Palmer against Brighton is probably his best fixture for the next 2 months anyway. So I'm slightly more willing to remove Palmer and bring him back for that 1 week and 1 week only, and maybe see if we can get him back in a little later down the line, perhaps. So yeah, Palmer's going to go for me, I think, and I'm most likely going to bring in Ismaila Sarr because he has such a beautiful record against Aston Villa, followed by fixtures against Sunderland and West Ham. I really like Ismaila Sarr for the next 3, really. And then, of course, Sarr plays Liverpool in game week 6. No problem. We can free hit him out for that one regardless. I do have 2 free transfers, so I could make a second transfer and reinvest the Palmer money into somewhere else. Toyed with the idea of moving Mark Gue up to Chris Wood and potentially benching one of Rodgers or Dewsbury Hall. However, I think I'd quite like 2 transfers for after the transfer window closes, because if there are some interesting changes there, it would be nice to be able to take advantage of that. So yeah, I think the plan is right now: Palmer to Ismaila Sarr, keep everything else the same. Hope Dewsbury Hall can turn it up against Wolves. Hope Rodgers can come back to his best alongside Ollie Watkins, and I guess reassess with 2 free transfers going into game week 4.
Are you thinking of captaining Bruno Fernandes or Mo Salah?
The armband is currently on Bruno Fernandes, and the vice is on Joao Pedro. So it will be between those 2 players for captaincy. But I'm feeling Bruno right now. I'm feeling Bruno.
Yeah, it's a sort of game where he's probably likely to turn up and do something. Because I mean, this is why Bruno is always sort of reliable, because even in the sort of games where you'd say, oh, he will only turn up in the big matches, he can often be quite a good, flat track bully and do well in the potentially tougher games. In terms of my team for game week 3, I've got also 2 free transfers, so I could definitely consider, taking a few punts and switching things around. At the moment, I'm starting Sells over Dubravka with that fixture for West Ham. I think that makes most sense. Murillo, Chalobah, and Dorgu is the current back 3. Although I did consider maybe thinking about benching Chalobah for Pedro Porro, just because I feel like that game will have goals in it, and Porro might well be involved in that. But I have got Semenyo also to factor into that decision. But yeah, I like Dorgu this week. I'm hoping he can do better than last week, and then Chalobah. I mean, I don't expect to go every week, but it was lovely to get it last week. And hopefully a Forest clean sheet. I mean, when I started both for the Forest players in the defensive point of view in game week 1, they both conceded a late penalty. So I've just got to hope West Ham have a shutout. They've not looked great going forward, so fingers crossed. And then it's whether or not I do something with my midfielders, really. So with those 2 free transfers, if we get news that Cole Palmer is fit, because at the minute I've got Wirtz and Dewsbury Hall who are kind of annoying me a little bit. But the thing with Dewsbury Hall is, as you said, Dan, I mean, that Wolves game could be great for Everton and potentially Dewsbury Hall. Just the lack of it, how involved he is in these league games so far is a bit concerning. But yeah, it might well be a fixture I regret selling a player for. So might just have a stay of execution for one more week, and then if he does well at against Wolves, then I can keep him. But Wirtz is a tricky one because the fixtures don't get too good until sort of next week, really, for Liverpool. But again, he's a player who's got a good sort of price point, but it's whether I keep the value in him and stay with him at the moment. But Wirtz, Salah on the captaincy at the moment, just because of a lack of options. But I expect it might well switch to someone else. If I do sell Palmer, I probably will bring in Bruno Fernandes, just because I just think he's the best captain this week. As weird as it sounds after Man United's start. And then the front two, Watkins and João Pedro, with a bench of currently Dubravka, Porro, Guiu and Hoover. Dan, do you think that Fernandes makes sense as a transfer, or would you just be happy enough captaining Salah against in a big game like that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like the idea of captaining a Man United player this week. You mentioned Cunha earlier as well. I think that's definitely an option for you as well if you wanted to maybe try something a little bit different. But yeah, Bruno is perhaps the more... It's difficult because you don't have Bruno already. He's kind of like a bit more double jeopardy for you if you were to use a transfer to bring him in, if something were to go wrong there. So maybe it's a little different in your scenario.
Yeah, it's long term as well. Man United's fixtures aren't great, are they? So it makes it
not perfect.
Tricky. Makes it tricky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I could look at it and say Bruno is fixture proof anyway, so he can just sit there. Even if Man United keep losing games, he will eventually return. So yeah, I don't hate the Bruno transfer. The problem with that is I would have to sell Palmer because I haven't got any money in the bank to upgrade Wirtz. So I could potentially, just make one transfer and go Wirtz to Cunha and save the other for game week 4, or I, maybe switch out Dewsbury Hall as part of a double move. If Palmer is confirmed out, I could, upgrade Dewsbury Hall, downgrade Palmer to Bruno. But yeah, a few things to consider. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, but I think I definitely don't think I'm going to roll because of the whole lack of captaincy option and Palmer injury at the moment. So that's our sort of selection thoughts going into the game week 3 deadline. We are just going to end off this episode then with a quiz. So both Dan and Druv are Arsenal fans, so I've prepared a Arsenal themed quiz to see how you guys get on at this. At the moment, the quiz record so far is Marcelo 0% after he lost in the first game week preview of the season. Chris 100% after his win in that episode. I'm on 0%, but to be fair, I've only played one game. That was in week 1. And then Candy's also on 0. Fran is 100% after winning last week. So now let's see how Druv and Dan can do in this episode. So you claim to be Arsenal fans, but let's put that to the theory. Put that theory to the test, if we can get the words out. And the first question for you guys is going to be the following. Which of these Arsenal players, and you can buzz in as well, so actually you'll do that now. Druv, what's your buzzer noise going to be? It could be anything. A name, a player's name, a word. What are you feeling?
Beep.
Beep. Okay. What about you, Dan?
I'll go bing.
Beep and bing. Nice to remember. Thank you. Okay. First one. And buzz in when you think you know, and then it'll just be a process of elimination. Which of these players was never Arsenal's record signing? And I'll list the 4 options out, and then you can have a go. First of all, Alexandre Lacazette. Second, Andre Arshavin. Third, Ian Wright. 4, Samir Nasri. Which of those players was never an Arsenal record signing? Any ideas? Oh, Druv, it's gone for it.
Nasri.
It is Nasri. Well done. Very good shout. I can tell you that Ian Wright in 1991, Arshavin broke Sylvain Wiltord's record in 2009, and then Mesut Ozil smashed it in 2013. Then Lacazette broke it 4 years later, only for Aubameyang, of course, to top it a few months after that. So yes, That is correct. It is Samir Nasri. So that's 1-0 to Druv. Going into the next question. I'll just write these scores down whilst I remember. So next question is going to be the following. And this will be testing your knowledge a few bit of time back now. Which Gooner is the only player to have been awarded first, second, and third in one BBC Goal of the Month competition? I'll again list the names. The first one, Dennis Bergkamp, Jack Wilshere, Olivier Giroud, and Thierry Henry. Buzz in when you think. Oh, go for it, Dan.
I mean, surely it's got to be Thierry Henry.
Thierry Henry is incorrect. So you're momentarily frozen out. Druv, what's your guess?
Deep Wilshire.
It's not Jack Wilshere. Dan, you're back in.
It's got to be Bergkamp then.
Dennis Bergkamp is correct. Well done. It's an equaliser in the quiz. Dennis Bergkamp, though it's a common urban myth these days, all three were from his hat-trick against Leicester City. One was from a previous game against Southampton. So well done to Dan there. That's 1-1. We move on to question number 3. And this one is it's going to be interesting to see. Which Arsenal legend is the only player to have captained a side to 3 titles across 3 different decades? Okay, that's 3 titles across 3 different decades. First up,
Bing.
David O'Leary. Oh, Dan's gone for it.
Is it Tony Adams?
It is. Tony Adams is correct. I was going to give David O'Leary, Patrick Vieira, but you got there quickly.
Sorry.
Before Druv could even could go for it. So very impressive stuff from Dan. 2-1 to Dan now. But there's a couple questions left. So there's still a chance of you nicking a win here, Druv, if you can get these next 2. Okay. Question number 4. In the 2006 Champions League semi-final, if you cast your minds back, who did Jens Lehmann save a penalty from to send the Gunners to a first ever final? So, first answer, Diego Forlan, Emerson, Juan Roman Riquelme, or Zinedine Zidane. Any beeping? Any ideas?
Deep.
Druv?
Riquelme.
Riquelme's correct. Well done. That is very impressive. It was Riquelme. Arsenal beat Villarreal in the 1-0 on aggregate. Emerson and Zidane both faced Arsenal with Juventus and Real Madrid, respectively, in the knockout. So not for Villarreal. So, yeah, that is an equaliser. So it's all down to this one to see who wins this week's quiz. And this is a question about a certain Arsenal player who went off injured against Leeds at the weekend. It is Bukayo Saka. Which number did Bukayo Saka... Dan?
87.
87 is correct. I didn't even go through the answers. I had 11, I had 77, and I had 66. And 87 is correct. He wore 77 for his second season before taking the number 7. Yeah, but the first one he wore was 87.
Yeah,
which means
a lot of people think it's 77. And yeah, that's a bit of a trick question, but I've heard it before.
Very well done. That means Dan, FPL Mate, wins the quiz this week. Commiserations, Druv. It was a very hard-fought battle there.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. I mean, he scored 2 bangers, basically, so yeah, can't beat that.
Fair play, yeah. Very impressive knowledge. And thanks again for coming on in this week's episode. It's been really great fun. Thanks again, Dan, for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure to be here. It was good fun. And yeah, Druv, you really pushed me there on the quiz. That was a really, really close one, intense one. Well done, man. Yeah, great to be on the show.
No, pleasure having you always, Dan. And yeah, top guy. And yeah, Druv, thanks again for coming in. Really appreciate you helping out. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one. And we will be back after the international break for the Game Week 4 preview. So we'll have a little week off, but we will be back to give you the FPL tips ahead of the Game Week 4 deadline. So yeah, make sure to tune into that one. Going to be a really exciting one as well. We've got some guests coming out of here, some great guests. We've got Joe from Fantasy Football Scout, as well as Trophy FPL Mo on the Game Week 4 preview. So stay tuned for that on YouTube, Spotify, and we're also on Apple Podcasts this season. But thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.